the lazy gardener, there's nothing like a collection of succulents, because if you forget to water them, they don't die. But succulents are a very peculiar sort of plant. They either have fleshy stems or fleshy leaves in which they store water, and they carry out a lot of their operations at night when there's less chance of them losing moisture, and so they manage to survive in deserts and on rocks and on the branches of trees and things like that. Now, the best known kinds, of course, are the cactuses. The cactuses, with possibly one exception, all come from North, South or Central America. In Africa, their place is taken by succulent species of Euphorbia, like these ones here. Amongst other well-known succulents, of course, there are the aloes or aloes, which usually produce upright stems with pendulous orange flowers, or flowers of that type, and the crassulas, which you've probably seen about even if you've never heard of their name. And there are lots of others. Of course, the Bromeliads, for instance, are succulents. Another succulent that I can't help mentioning because it's so extraordinary is this strange spiny Pachypodium, a succulent that comes from Madagascar. And although you won't believe it, it's a close relative of frangipani, and in the growing season produces some ordinary leaves at the top and some beautiful frangipani-like flowers. Because succulents come naturally from such inhospitable situations, they're the easiest plants in the world to grow. They like well-drained soils, of course, and rocky places and things like that, and you don't have to water them much except when they're growing actively or flowering, and they require very little fertiliser, probably best given to them at about the same time. They'll grow in a lot of different situations. They're good in borders on the edge of paths, and of course in rock garden arrangements like this, you can be extremely creative. But you must remember that most succulents come from the warmer parts of the world. So if you live in an area where there are frosts or the temperature falls much below freezing, the selection that you can have is greatly limited. Amongst these, however, there are some very interesting ones, and these include the Sedums, of which you see an example here, and the Sempervivums, many of which come from Europe, where they're known as house leeks, because people thought that they would protect them from fire, evil influences and diseases and that sort of thing, and often planted them on the roofs of their houses. As you can see from these house leeks growing in this pot, they're wonderful for growing in pots because, again, if you forget to water them, they get on perfectly well. And for this reason, they're really marvellous used in urns, like these ones here, where you can plant a wide variety of succulents, including the Bromeliads, and create something that looks marvellous and requires hardly any care.